What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Golf Bag podcast. My name is Drew, and I'll be driving today's show looking at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship for the 2025 PGA Tour Fall Swing. This is the second to last event before we really kind of wind things down. We got next week and then a little break until the Hero World Championship. Is it a Hero World Championship? You think I would know the name? Hero World Challenge, not Championship. Knew it was off. But yeah, we'll be talking through the course this week in Bermuda. It's a wild course history for guys and like the winners. I tweeted out something earlier for lead-in stats for the winners over the last 10 years. So pretty interesting. So we'll dive into all that. We'll look at the golf course. There's no shot link, so we won't dive in deep with the shot link stuff. But as always, we have the lead-in correlations, which is kind of our bread and butter, looking at apples to apples of what we see now versus what we could have saw last year or the year prior for lead-in form and like what we're looking for. So as you know, strokes gained approach or off the tee for a certain golf course doesn't necessarily correlate to good finishes in the event. So looking at like what actually stood out for the form and the skill sets for players leading into that event. So I'll just mention really quickly a couple cool updates on the website. You can go to fantasygolfbag.com. This is the last month for the early bird promo, so you can sign up for yearly, get you all of 2026 through this time next year, and you can save $100 off that right now. The updates are pretty cool, though. We had a new update to the tournament summary, some simplified tables for the leaderboard, some stats, and then some course data. And then most of the other updates we'll kind of lay out over the next month or so as we go into 2026. So I actually won't go into detail on those right now. What you're here for is the preview for the Butterfield Bermuda Championship being played at Port Royal Golf Course. So let's go ahead and dive into the golf course. Like I said, we don't have shot links, so not a ton of interesting stuff. Not that it really matters. It gives you an idea for like the course profile, but all in all, what guys have been doing over the last few months is what I'm most concerned with anyways, every week. So we do have data to support that, which is nice. So Port Royal Golf Course, it's a par 71, 68-28. So definitely on the shorter side, similar to all these kind of island coastal courses. It's definitely susceptible to the wind. Winning scores have ranged from 19 under par last year for Rafael Campos, 24 under par for Camilo Villegas, Seamus Power 19 under. Looking back to Lucas Hebert and Brian Gay in 2022 and 2021 respectively, minus 15. So a bit of a wide range for a golf course. Only a par 71, but it's only 68-28 on the scorecard. So really short in today's terms. Return to par per round for the field average is about one stroke under par. So field average shooting about 70 each day. Robert Trent Jones Sr. design, Bermuda through and through. Pretty traditional for Bermuda. Kind of an unintentional pun there, I guess. You can see the scorecard breakout on the right-hand side in terms of scoring. That front nine really plays considerably under par. You can see number 7 plays over a half a shot under par. Number 2, the other par 5 on the front, over a quarter of a shot under par. And then you have the 3rd, par 3, 5th, the par 4, and 6th, the par 4, also playing considerably under par for the field averages. On the back nine, it's a little bit of a different story. There's a little bit more wind that can wreak havoc on those last 6 holes or so. So you can see actually 13, 14, 15, 16 historically play over par, which is interesting. And then 17 plays almost a half a shot under par. So that's like their only last chance for a birdie. In terms of streaks, people talked about that last week. Starting on the front is probably your way to go. There's really not much making the turn on the back nine into the front, but you can see, 9, 10, 11, 12 play a little bit under par. So those are easier holes on the golf course. If you're looking to capitalize on streaks, you want to get guys starting on the front nine. Average par 3, 207. Average par 4, 401. Average par 5, 525. Besides the par 3s being pretty long, all things considered. The par 4s and 5s are pretty short. So nothing too crazy there, but it is interesting to point out the par 3s do play quite a bit longer in relative perspective to the 4s and the 5s on this golf course. All righty. Average winning score, about 19 under par. Average cut line, 2.3 strokes under par. Much different course than what we saw last week. Driving accuracy at 53% last week. It took a dip this year for driving accuracy, but I think it was like 89% driving accuracy for the year prior down at the Diamante Los Cabos, whatever it was. So 53% driving accuracy, which makes sense being a 6,800-yard golf course. They can't just be bombs away. It'd just be a complete birdie fest. So driving accuracy way down. Missed fairway penalty down as well. So not crazy on the rough. You can see right here, Bermuda at 2 inches. So not too crazy as far as difficulty goes. Green regulation percent right around the tour average, 65%. Missed green regulation penalty, green regulation from the fairway, all that's about tour average. The big one there is driving accuracy, quite a bit down. And then let's see, you can see like with the missed fairway penalty being a little bit less penal, the green regulation from the rough is actually 13% higher than the tour average. So yeah, driving accuracy, a little bit more difficult to hit the fairways here versus a normal tour golf course, but the rough is a little bit less penalizing as well. So it's not too chaotic or penalizing for guys that don't hit every fairway. They're not going to hit every fairway. Looking at, 53.7% driving accuracy for the field. Some guys will be closer to 40%, and then a few, hopefully, closer to 80% that are really playing well. It's really dictated by the wind as well. Lead-in stat correlations. Typically, I like to spend a few minutes here. We are going to look at the time machine, the old faithful time machine here in just a second. The lead-in stats are just such a low correlation factor. It's really not even worth looking at. When we look at the lead-in form for winners, you'll also see it's kind of wide open with who can win on this golf course. But for sake of argument, the strokes gain categories are top. Total strokes gain, tee to green, approach. They're the number 1, 2, and 3. Birdie or bogey avoidance, then birdie or better, and then on down the line. But these, like I said, these are all very, very, very small correlation factors. I would not put too much weight into our, typically highly weighted lead-in stats. All right. Course comparisons. Like I said, the last couple of weeks, we don't have shot link data, so there's no driving buckets. We don't have approach distance distributions as well, but we do have the driver profile. You can see this favors distance just slightly. It's mostly balanced, where both accuracy, short and accurate, and long and crooked kind of can both do well here. Again, similar to an example like Harbor Town, where guys are going to have to cater to the golf course. There's no bombs away. Whatever distance advantage someone has here, it's going to be let up a little bit based on the course setup. So pretty balanced. The fun stuff, past winners and lead-in stats. I posted the screenshot here on the left-hand side of the average winner profile. So average odds for these winners, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 winners. Average winner profile, 19 under par winning score. Average odds, 137 to 1 is the average odds for a winner here. You can see Campos was 215 to 1. Villegas was 140 to 1. A couple shorter ones, 25 to 1. Seamus Power, 60 to 1. Lucas Hebert, and then you got Brian Gay at 250 to 1. So longer odds. You can see each of their lead-in stats is basically red, with the exception of like Camilo Villegas. Hebert was gaining a little bit in certain categories. All in all, there's no great profile for the winners at this event, leading in at least. So did want to point that out. But I'm going to pull up the time machine. We're going to look at the top 10. It'll give you a little bit of an example for the last couple of years for the top 10 finishers, giving you some idea of the volatility that we see here. Field history, I'm not going to go into too much here, but you can see, if you have the time, you can go through here and see guys like Patrick Rogers has some really good top 10 finishes. Vince Whaley as well is playing really well, 9K this week. So going through this, and also in our, if you go to tools, you can go over to recent form and course history. That is one of our free tools. And you can get a look at recent form and the course history matrix. And you can get actual strokes gained like metric to compare equally. And with that being said, I don't really want to dive into any of the stats since we don't have specific data. There's the scorecard. You can go look through there. Again, missed fairway penalty is down in almost all of these. Driving accuracy all over the place. Hole 11, 33% driving accuracy. 76% on hole 10. It's all over the place. A lot of low ones. 25% driving accuracy on hole 2, which is a par 5. Interesting. So plenty to dive into. Let's take a look at the weather, and then I'll go into the time machine, and then we'll go look at the stat model and look at some top guys. So again, going out to Thursday, what do we got going on? A little bit of rain in the afternoon and some wind, unlike what we saw last week. So we got 23 miles per hour sustained pretty much all day. Some rain in the afternoon, windy. It's going to be a difficult day on Thursday. So we'll see as this gets closer, you'll see more hours broken out on our Weather IQ tool. But for now, just to get a general idea, we got 20% chance at 1 p.m., 100% chance at 4 p.m. So the afternoon's definitely going to get some rain. I just don't know how much or how heavy, but definitely going to be windy. 20 miles per hour, gusting to 25 all day. It's going to be a tough Thursday. As far as Friday goes, a little bit calmer. We got 17 miles per hour in the morning, 15 miles per hour to 13 miles per hour in the afternoon. So about 10 miles per hour less, 7 to 10 miles per hour less on Friday. No rain, a little bit, I guess, 4 p.m., 20% chance of rain at 4 p.m. And again, we are 5 days out or 4 days out from Thursday and Friday. But going to be windy. Thursday and Friday should be fun to watch. Do see Saturday, even windier on Saturday. Wow, 26 miles per hour, 31 miles per hour. Don't have Sunday yet. So look for some interesting high scores, I think, for Port Royal this week. All right, time machine time. This is what we had before we integrated the time machine into our stat model. You could, obviously now in the stat model, you can go to time machine and go back to any year or any event and get a snapshot, just like you would if you flash back to 2024 at this week or this day last year. You can get a look at all the stats and all the players leading into the event and see their finishes and try to build a model from there kind of retroactively and then look forward into the current week. You can do the same thing with the time machine. We can go through each of the last couple of years, and this is the top 10 just to kind of give you a nice, easy way to view this. The bottom is the average of everybody that finished in the top 10. You can also do top 25, everyone in the who made the cut, everyone in the field, or just the top 5. Top 10 is a nice quick look, right? You can get a nice idea of what everybody had coming into this event that finished in the top 10. Mostly pretty good, honestly. Like approach, okay. There's a few that weren't great. Adrien Dumont de Chassart. Vince Whaley wasn't playing great at the time. Around the green, negative. Off the tee, mostly negative, which makes sense. It's a short golf course. Off the tee is not a big factor. So off the tee kind of goes out the window right off the bat. Approach still has its place. I kind of want to see guys that are still hitting their irons relatively well. And then putting, kind of all over the place. Vince Whaley was doing well with the putter. A couple other guys losing a half a shot around putting. A couple gaining half a shot. So pretty much everything and anything in between. Driving accuracy, driving distance, kind of a similar mixed bag. Mostly flat, I would say. There's a few outliers. I would say no crazy bad results. Obviously, Vince Whaley and Adrien Dumont, throw him out. But I think the one piece to take away here is like approach still has some decent correlation. Putting does have a little bit of correlation. And then if we go to 2023, you'll see a different story where off the tee, coincidentally enough, had a much better factor in terms of correlation. Approach still pretty strong. Putting a little bit less. and then driving distance a lot more. So for whatever reason in 2023, the guys that were longer could have just been playing well at the time anyways. You can see most of them were gaining strokes in total. Different story in 2023. But then 2022, if we go look at that, it is as ugly as it gets. Approach, all negatives. Basically, everybody was losing a quarter of a shot, half a shot, or a full shot or more on approach. And they did well that year. Let's see. Driving distance, green regulation, driving accuracy. Driving distance still a little bit of a factor. But not a lot to take away, to be honest, guys. Like looking through this, trying to find like a general theme. Each year is a little bit different in terms of who finishes top 10 and just what form they had. It's somewhat random. Like off the tee has its place. We saw that in 2023. You can go here. Approach, I think, still has its place across each of those years, even with some weird outliers like in 2022 with some really bad scores. I think still looking at approach is worth considering. Maybe just don't put too much emphasis on it and be a little bit more lenient towards guys that don't have the best current form strokes gained approach. And keep in mind, they didn't have strokes gained last week, so you're missing a week of data anyways. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. Let's look at 2021. Pretty similar. No real correlation with off the tee. Approach is okay, kind of a mixed bag again. Putting, mixed bag. Driving distance a little bit, but also not. So again, it's all over the place. So let's go into the stat model. Let's take a look at, without going into the last couple years, because you can already see, typically we would see a nice correlation year over year. At least like 80%, 75% or more are gaining in a certain category or multiple categories, and we can kind of make our decisions easier that way. This is a little bit different. It's kind of strokes gained total. There's guys, I mean, Brian Gay was losing almost 3 strokes leading into this event. It's such a weird golf course with anybody has a chance to win if they're teeing it up, and you got 120 guys teeing it up. It's a lot of guys. So I'm not going to go through the time machine in the Stat Model Pro. I'm going to go off my intuition this week. So we're going to build a model real easy. I'm going to go into the Redkacheek model. I'm going to go through adjusted stats, green regulation. I got the IQ stat, which is a mix of green regulation, some other shot link data. So I'm not going to double count it with green regulation. Pretty or better bogey avoidance. Maybe we do that. And then for strokes gain, let's just take that off so we don't double count as well. And it should be pretty good. Tee to green, off the tee approach. Off the tee. I think that's good for now. So we could always throw in Spectrum if we want to look at Spectrum data. Might not be a bad idea this week. We could go back. I'll load it while we wait. The Spectrum IQ and maybe see who's popping there. But quite simply, we'll go into the weighted rankings. We got IQ stat, birdie or better, bogey avoidance, adjusted strokes gained total. It's weighted to the field. So field strength adjusted. Same for strokes gained tee to green, off the tee, and approach. Let's just do an even split for now. Let's bump down off the tee. Let's bump down approach. We'll bump up total. And then birdie or better, probably don't want too much, to be honest. Like the guys that have done well here weren't exactly playing great. Bogey avoidance might still have its place. So let's do like 12.5%. And we'll do 10%. Let's normalize that. Okay, see what we got here. So a lot of green at the top of the board. The guys that are the highest priced definitely grade out well. Nico Echevarria is kind of the outlier there. One of the totals one of the stats I definitely want to pay attention to is the adjusted strokes gained total. So in this field, Rico Hoey is number 1. Michael Brennan, number 3. He's only got 8 rounds, 4 of those being shot link, since last week didn't have shot link. But yeah, pretty good top of the board, honestly. The 10Ks, we got Thorbjorn Olesen. He's 4th in this model. Rico Hoey is 2nd. I'm actually going to go back a tad further. There you go. That helps Nico's number a bit. So yeah, Rico Hoey, number 2. Kevin Yu, number 9. Thorbjorn Olesen, number 7. That's your 10K and up. All 3 of those guys look really good. I would just be paying attention to maybe just last week, since we don't have shot link data, for guys that have played, and maybe specifically played how they played over the weekend. And that might be a tiebreaker situation. Nico Echevarria bumps up to 16th with the longer time frame. Strokes gained off the tee is atrocious, but it doesn't matter here. And then the 9K is loaded as well. We got Pearson Cootie, Patrick Rogers, who loves the island and coastal courses, played well last week. Let's see what he shot over the weekend. Yeah, 67, 64 on the weekend. He finished T6. You got Matty Schmid, Michael Brennan again. What did he finish last week? T59, 69, 68. Just never got anything going. So yeah, it's a loaded, honestly, guys, it's a loaded 9K plus. Matt Wallace does well in these like weaker fields. But yeah, I think starting with these top guys, we'll see what the projections spit out. I imagine Rico Hoey and Kevin Yu have really strong projections. Everybody else in the 9K is probably going to be pretty close. I'm sure we'll have a few that stand out in terms of value, but that's definitely a good starting point. Just a very basic overall encompassing model. I'll go ahead and continue for sake of the show into the 8K range. Chad Ramey, good week last week. He's 8,900 here, 19th in the model. Matt Kuchar is number 8. This would be like a very good Matt Kuchar course. 6,800 yards. Really, really good, consistent form, honestly. Like, look through round by round. Just in his last 8 rounds. Is that 8 right here? 68, 69, 65, 73, 65, 68, 68, 65. Matt Kuchar's probably going to be, I would hope, pretty popular. If not, I'll be playing plenty of him on a 6,800-yard golf course. Let's see if anybody else stands out in the 8Ks. Victor Perez, which I haven't heard much about. Victor Perez, he hasn't been playing great. Pretty good showing last week. 65-65, round 1 and 2, and then kind of slowed down over the weekend. But yeah, Victor Perez is another good one. And then we'll jump down into the 7Ks. See if any specifically stand out. Patrick Fishburne, I like that. Ricky Castillo, I like him this week. Takumi Kanaya, who was our top value last week, priced at 7,900 again. I'm sure I'll have plenty of him. Very consistent, like not a lot of ceiling. Shot 69, 67, 69, and then struggled on Friday or on Sunday. But playing very, very good golf. If you can look through his round by round stuff, very consistent finishes, a lot of made cuts. 62 there, the last round of the Bay Current Classic, but just very consistent. So 7,900, I'm sure I'll have plenty of. Takumi Kanaya, could see him winning this week for sure. Grayson Sigg, 10th, he's 7,400, a very good value in terms of what we're projecting in this model at least. He's also had really good recent form. I mean, just very consistent. Very consistent in every category, every week. Nothing crazy, like no big spike rounds. That was the other update I forgot to mention, was the Spike IQ. We'll talk about that here in a second. Lanto Griffin, I probably don't want to play any Lanto Griffin. His WD risk is always fairly moderate. Bramlett, Noah Goodwin, Thomas Rosenmuller, Ben Coles. Has Ben Coles paid off yet for anybody? I don't think so. He continues to do so good on approach. All his approach numbers are great, mainly from back in the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs, or into the FedEx Cup playoffs. But since then, not much. So I don't too interested in Ben Coles, but he does pop, and that's the reason why. Let's see if anybody cheap stands out. Justin Hastings. What's he got going on? Procore Championship. Got 4 rounds there. Francesco Molinari. I know we were talking in the chat about him earlier. Could see him doing really well. Again, 6,800 yard golf course. Trending in the right direction, we'll say. You can see his numbers starting to tick up each week. Pretty good tee to green at the Bank of Utah Championship. And then last week as well, even without the strokes gain data, round 1, he gained almost 6 strokes on the field, 3 strokes in round 2, 1.3 in round 3, and then he kind of lagged there in round 4. Jonathan Bird, only 4 rounds, so watch that. That's pretty much it. I do want to look at the Spike IQ, though. So hopefully this at least gets you down the path. Like, I'm not really giving out my favorite top plays. Like, obviously, Matt Kuchar is probably going to be up there. Kanaya is going to be up there. Rico, Hoey, Kevin Yu, the top guys, will play plenty of them. They're kind of a class above once you get down into the 7K range anyways. Similar to last week with JJ Spawn and Ben Griffin ultimately winning. This is kind of a similar setup. These guys aren't in the same caliber, but relative to the field, as you go down into the 7s, in the 6s, you'll want to play some of the top price guys. Just avoid some of the chalky combos. That's probably the biggest thing. You definitely want to put some groups together and avoid some of the highest price or the highest owned value plays. So instead of Spectrum, let's go look at the Spike IQ. So this got published over the weekend, thanks to Spaz, who suggested this tool. This has all the same filters that you see in the stat model. So you can go through years, rounds, certain pars, green grass, fairways, fairway grass, certain courses, stint meter readings, wind, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. So over the last 6 months, you can go to different time frames. Basically, you can look at who's been spiking over certain thresholds. So if I want to look at who's been gaining the most over 4 strokes in a round, Michael Brennan, just because he has small sample size from the Bank of Utah Championship. You can see Hayden Springer there. 21% of his rounds he gains over four strokes to the field. David Lipsky, Rico Hoey, Nico Echevarria, surprisingly, Matty Schmid, Jesper Svensson, a lot of the top price guys. It's almost like Vegas prices in the upside over just the consistency, because there's a lot of standard deviation in all these strokes gain numbers. Over 5 strokes, it's going to be a lower number. Jesper Svensson, surprisingly. Nico Echevarria again. So yeah, these would be all the ones. Like, honestly, thinking through this, and maybe Spaz has some feedback, or anybody listening, I want to do a standard deviation, but it might be interesting to see who gains the least, or the lowest percentage of losing a stroke or something like that in terms of cash. Maybe you want to go look through, I want to get a mix of the guys, with spike rounds over 3 strokes, get all the guys that really suck. Like, obviously, I don't want these guys that are 0. Probably a good way to do it. I don't want any of these low percentages. These guys don't gain over 3 strokes to the field. Or maybe you lower it to 2 strokes. We go a little bit, a little more generous in the threshold. But then also see who's losing more than 1 or 2 strokes per round the most, and take those guys out, and maybe condense my field that way. Again, talking out loud with certain ideas, but a cool tool here. So again, what I would use it for, mainly strokes gain total. You can go through any of the strokes gain stats, but I would go like I did last week for like round 4. Go look at round 1. You could also do par 71 if you want, or very short golf courses. That's not bad. Just kind of up this to 12 months. Let that load. Get a little bit more sample size. And now for all the players in round 1 on very short golf courses, here's the highest percentage of guys gaining over 4 strokes to the field. Cameron Champ, Sam Ryder, Andrew Putnam, Thorbjorn Olesen, Trey Molinax, Rikuya Hoshino, Cristobal Del Solar, Jesper Svensson again. So a good way to look at it for Showdown as well. You go through, you could cut out the yardage, may not matter to you, and just look through guys that like to spike in round 1 and go there. Cameron Champ, Sam Ryder, Putnam. Pretty cool way to look at it. So I think that'll be it for today's show. Again, you can go to fantasygolfbag.com and sign up for our early bird promo. The prices are going to be going up the end of December for 2026 with all the new updates. So if you're already a subscriber, that's going to be locked in. If not, the prices will be going up. We'll probably just do a clean cutoff for January 1st. So just a heads up there. But again, if you want to get on the yearly subscription, which is honestly a pretty good value once you dive into everything that we have in our building with the multiple tours and all the tools and the analytics behind the correlations and stuff like that, projections and sims, it's honestly a pretty good value, if I do say so myself. But again, fantasygolfbag.com, tell a friend. And best of luck this week. I should be back on Wednesday night for the Run the Sims live stream as well. So hope to see you guys there in the chat. Until then, guys, best of luck. Enjoy the tools. Let me know if you have any feedback or add to the wish list in the Discord. We'll talk to you later. See ya.